Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. And this is our Tube Talk episode, where we talk about all things tube, right, Matt?
Tubes!
Television tube. And we review some of the latest TV show episodes and talk about some upcoming new shows and episodes as they are available and coming out.
Yeah.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. My coffee over here is starting to kick in.
All right.
I'm a bit concerned because we're recording this pretty late in the evening. I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm going to be up late. I'll be texting, oh my gosh, I just watched this show.
I'm like, dude, it's 2 a.m. Stop.
Yeah, but we also, so this is obviously a show where we love to hear from our viewers, love to get connected to, or not viewers, listeners.
Yeah.
Hopefully viewers one day.
Yeah. Viewers via your ears.
There you go. Just that, I don't even know how that works, but cool stuff. So we love to connect with you, and you can do that in a number of different ways. Matt, do you want to share?
Yeah. So
ways?
all over the interwebs and social medias. And I love, by the way, that I got you saying social medias. It's just a term I made up, and it's not even correct, but I like saying it. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Real Review Media. That's spelled R-E-E-L, and we have a website, which is realreviewmedia.com. You can email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Let us know what's happening, but we keep everything up to date and want to make sure we're getting all the right stuff out to you, so feel free to like it, subscribe, hang out with us, whatever that may look like, and listen in.
Awesome. And Matt does a great job. You do much better than I do. I'm always like, we posted that? I'm always like, did you see this? And he's like, yeah, we posted it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So good job with that, Matt. Keep up the good work.
You're welcome.
You're doing well for your $0 a month salary.
Yeah, I know. It's really good. It's really good.
At least we know we're making the same amount.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond. Awesome. So let's get into it. I think the epic thing about this episode is we are ending a ton of different shows. They're, like, all these shows are coming into their season finale type times. And so I think we're going to talk about 4 different shows. The only one that we still have a remaining episode for is The Flash.
Is that, yeah. Yep.
Right, which is coming out this week, though. And so the next episode, we'll be able to talk about sort of the season finale of that one as well. But we're going to talk Walking Dead, Legion, and then give some final thoughts on Iron Fist, and then finish up with The Flash. Sound good, Matt?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let us get into the talk of The Walking Dead.
Yes. Yeah, hey, this might be one of my favorites.
Ever?
Of this season.
Of the season,
Not ever.
Okay.
But there were moments.
What about the first episode? That was a great one. Yeah.
Total different tone, man.
Different tone, yeah.
So this one, I love this one because I had that feeling of hope and optimism, which is what I love. And it's those ones that are bleak and dreary that I'm like, ugh. You know, like, I don't know if I can handle this, but this one I felt more, start off, I was like, oh no, there's some twists in there that I didn't see. But at the end, I felt like we had this, what we've been working towards all season. Yeah. And it's so funny. It was the last episode where you're wanting all this stuff to happen. And I didn't really see what I wanted to happen until the last 5 minutes of the episode. So they were really holding on to this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you like it?
I liked it. I thought overall this was I felt like this was almost the episode before the season finale.
Okay.
Like, to me, I feel like this would have led up very well to a season finale type episode.
Right.
Ending with all the action and people. But the thing is like we had, we talked spoilers here, but we had one character kind of say goodbye and sign off, which we all kind of knew she was going for the most part. If you're aware, she's Sasha. She's on another show now.
Yep, she's on another show.
So we all knew she was going to leave us. But
I called that. Yeah.
Right. So we had one character kind of go, by the wayside, and they did that in a pretty effective way. I thought a decently good job with it. But other than that, there wasn't really any significant change as far as personnel goes. Right. I mean, we learned kind of which side people are on at this point, and it was cool to see certain fights happening. It was cool to see that there was a movement forward, but it wasn't like, oh my goodness, this person's dead now and they're no longer with us, they shot them and they're dead. And, we still have the ongoing threat of the Saviors and them and fighting with Alexandria. And so it felt rewarding in a sense to get a final battle. Yeah. Not a final battle, but the start of the battle to get there. Right. After everything we've been through this season. Yeah. But it just didn't really feel, it left me feeling hopeful, but I kind of wanted one final, when you got to Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards, and it was this epic battle, the whole episode was just this giant battle. Obviously, they're 2 different shows, but it really felt like you went through it and you saw some really cool, crazy stuff, and there was finalization of certain character arcs, and people ended, and da-da-da-da-da. Whereas this one, they kind of finalized one or two elements with the stories. It's like, okay, you kind of know now Eugene's kind of on the bad side, but he could switch back, and then Sasha's gone, and they're gonna fight, and that now the garbage pail kids are
the garbage pail kids
are kind of been manipulated and are on the the savior side, but you didn't really get a sense of like finality to a lot of the story arcs.
I still felt a lot of resolution though. I don't know, maybe it was just an emotional resolution. I felt like
I was fine with them leaving it here.
Right.
I just felt like they could have, if they'd done it better, maybe given me a more epic.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what they're setting it up to do is now we have this alliance that we have, and I love, and I know I was telling you this earlier, I love that imagery where you have like the three kings, I guess, of each like respective, Hilltop, the kingdom, and Alexandria. You have Ezekiel,
Rick
and
Negan.
No. I almost said her real name's Lauren, but what's
Oh, Maggie.
Maggie, that's
sorry.
right. Okay,
like, yeah.
So they're all standing up. They're telling their people, hey, we're all together. This is what we're doing. And we got to see Shiva in action, which I wanted to see for a while. I was like, and it looked good.
It looked really good.
And I was like, that is good CG, guys. Way to go, TV.
That one poor guy got it. I mean, obviously he's a he was
chewing. Shiva was chewing on his face.
Yeah, and they did a shot of that, and he's like, Jesus, like, right in his face. You know what I mean?
That was awesome.
Yeah, which I thought that was effective, and it was pretty. I mean, in a way, I knew that they weren't going to kill him, but I wasn't expecting a giant tiger to come in and chomp on someone's face.
I love that. Yeah. The other thing I was really surprised and I like, because I've never really been on board with Carl or Coral. As Rick says, but he
I
was.
do love the memes.
He was pretty awesome though.
Yeah.
Like as soon as the garbage pail kids turn on them, and then Sasha comes out, he pulls like a John Wick and like shoots him in the foot and then in the head. And I was like, wow, good job, Coral.
I'm growing in my respect for him.
Yeah.
At first, he was a bit whiny and everything, but he's kind of coming into his own a bit.
Yeah,
I think after everything with Negan, and I didn't like some of his interactions there because he just seems like he's just kind of this like, I'm a tough kid and you don't mess with me.
Right.
But I think in his interactions with other people now, you're starting to see like a softer side to him as well.
Yeah,
which he kind of needs.
I do like that he has his dad Rick being his role model a little bit. Yeah. There are elements I'm like, Rick, I don't want you to pass that on, but there's a lot of awesomeness in Rick, and if he can glean some of that, then right on. But I do like. Obviously, I knew that they weren't going to kill Negan. He's too big of a bad. The way they introduced him, that he's going to last a while.
Yeah. You know what actually could have done it for me? I just needed one more significant, really thing at play here, I didn't need somebody to die. But certain characters in the comic book series have lost certain appendages of their body.
Yep.
And I think if maybe they had actually done that, not that they would, but if they had, then that might have been a lot more significant to me. Whereas I feel like the biggest significance as far as like character violence actually happened to poor Michonne.
Right. Man, she got
beat.
Brutally beat.
Yeah, which was shocking in a way because you've never seen her really get hurt that bad.
Right.
She's been in some pretty harrowing situations, but never to the point where you're like questioning, is she alive or not? And so I thought that was interesting, but I think that would have done it for me. It didn't keep the episode from being it didn't turn it from like a good episode to a bad episode, but it kept it from being a good episode to like a great episode.
Yeah. So my final thoughts on the season just as a whole, I would say I wish they would have had 8 less episodes.
Yeah. They could have accomplished all this in probably 3 episodes. Like 3 or 4 episodes really could have given you all of this story.
Right.
And I think, in my opinion, I don't know, they really need to do something to kind of invigorate the series and add some new blood to it. Because as much as I'm excited to see them actually battling with Negan, if they approach Negan and the war with him in the next season the way they've approached this season, which is like 1 or 2 things happening every episode, that's going to get really boring. You can't war with somebody and have like 1 or 2 things happening the entire episode. Yep. You know what I mean? And it could potentially get really boring, and we'll see what they do. I mean, this season has had the lowest number since season 3.
Yep.
And I don't think the final numbers have come in yet, but that's not a great sign. It's not a good sign for the series. So maybe they'll give some new fresh blood. I'm not necessarily need to get rid of Greg Nicotero, which is showrunner for it. I mean,
get some young people up in here and really euthanize the place.
There you go, euthanize would be great. Yeah, that's the word for it. So I don't know. Maybe they'll do some shuffling of some people around and move some different things.
We'll see, man.
We'll see.
If I had to rate this thing, though, I would probably give it an 8.5. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
Liked it a lot, not like overwhelmingly 10 for 10, but
Yeah, I'd probably give it like 8.2, 8.3.
All right.
I think if they had like one more kind of like, whoa moment, like, because the garbage pail twist thing was cool. I thought that was effective, but it wasn't like shocking in the sense that
I had a suspicion, but I was still like, oh, they did go there. Okay.
Right. Yeah. The biggest shocker was the tiger.
Yeah.
She was pretty great, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, then let's move on to our next show. This is another show which has wrapped up its season or chapters. I guess this show talks more about chapters. We're talking about the show Legion.
Yep.
And Matt, so what were your thoughts on? So let's do the episode, and then like you did like the final overall series.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
far.
So this episode was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
And I liked how they wrapped it up some more. I think it's really funny too how they left the cliffhanger at the end of episode or chapter 7, where they're like, the guy shows up and he's like, kill them all, or whatever. And then the very next scene in the first episode, David just makes them all like go into some pile, like all the soldiers.
Turn them into a reverse pyramid.
I know.
They like upward down the pyramid.
And I think the dude's name is Clark, but he was like, it's like, oh,
Yeah, he wasn't even surprised by it. That was pretty crazy. Yeah.
I do like that he wasn't just a vengeful guy, the guy that was burned by David and his team in the first episode.
Yeah.
But he did care. He did have, and I didn't. So here's the thing, though, is I didn't really catch any of that in any previous episodes of him showing that care and concern, but they did show that he did have that care and concern.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more of his backstory and that whole deal, but
right, which I think was definitely necessary for you to care about him a bit more, because it would have been a much more of an uphill battle if they didn't give you some of his backstory. So yeah, I keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. So, other than that, I really thought it was cool. They had the whole instance where they were trying to get Farouk out of David's head.
Yeah,
and
that was pretty cool.
Sid goes in there, and then through like a really sweet scene where like Farouk transfers bodies, or goes into Sid, and then Sid like transfers it over to Carrie, female Carrie, and then she has it, and like she beats up a bunch of people, and then they have this like sweet like very comic book, almost Dragon Ball Z like hallway charge where they're running at each other, and then like you see all their like blue and orange respective powers, and like they clash, and it was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then we see our buddy Jermaine. Yeah. He ends up, Oliver. He ends up with Farouk,
which I really loved. I love his character. I like him as an actor a lot. I think he's really, every time he's on screen, he's just like, he could be saying the dumbest things, but it's always super interesting to me, just his mannerisms and his voice. And so I'm glad that they're continuing on with him in the series. My fear was that they were going to like, okay, we've done with him. We're going to put him back in the cryogenic freezer, and he's done. So I actually really thought that it was clever to tie him in that way, and to put the body, put Farouk inside of his body.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see where that goes. What did you think of, I would say, like the way that they kind of wrap things up with David's story at the very, because they kind of like roll the credits a little bit almost, and then, did they do that? Or when they, with the drone?
You got to tell me about that. I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't see it.
Oh, so it's after, I'm pretty sure it's after the credits.
I know, I missed it.
Yeah, so there's like I guess a little teaser, if you will, and so like, David and his girl are like sitting on the balcony, and they're like talking and reminiscing about good things, and all of a sudden this like little drone floats up, and then it's like scans him and like sucks him into the drone.
What?
And he's like in there on this little screen, and he's like, "Let me out, no!" And then it just cuts.
The way you described it just makes me think of like this really weird cartoon. Just a weird cartoon.
Yeah, it was cartoony in a sense. It felt a little disjointed.
That's
like
weird.
It felt like they were trying to show you what's going to happen with. I didn't need it.
No, I didn't need it either. I felt like they left it enough of a cliffhanger with Farouk and Oliver.
Like they really felt like it was kind of like, well, we wanted to do something additional to kind of tease some elements are going to happen with the story in the next episode, but it felt a little bit forced. It felt a little bit strange.
Right.
To like have him get trapped in there. So yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was like a Pokeball or something like that. It's like floating in the air and awesome. Like sucks him up. Yeah.
I choose you, David.
Yeah, exactly. Super mutant powers go. Yeah. So, but
awesome.
Overall, I really did like the episode as well. I think they did a great job of making everything makes sense.
Right.
And they really didn't spend way too much time that they had, like they have in the past, with just trying to do stylistic things. The stylistic things were there and they had an impact on it, and that's, even like in the staging of like the machine that they're using to get Farouk out of David's mind.
Yep.
Like obviously they've got a very like, they like to do interesting things with light, I feel like, in the show, and they have a very specific style with that.
Yeah.
So even in the way they're structuring that. So I thought that was cool, and it's like, well, yeah, does it have to look like that? No, but I'm fine with them doing something that makes it look more interesting.
Yeah.
So I was happy with the progression there. I thought it was very realistically portrayed. I thought it was cool as well to get a little bit of a sense of like who David is now outside of Farouk. Yeah. And you can tell
that
he's
more confident.
Yeah, he's got more confidence. He's more at peace. Like even the way that he was like floating in the air.
Just like hanging out.
Yeah, just like hanging out and stuff like that. So I thought it was cool. I'm excited. I think the cool thing about it is it didn't leave me with too many questions, and I'm excited to see where they take the show. I think one element I'm a bit concerned about, we talked about this, but who knows how this is going to go, is that they did renew it, which is good. I'm happy about that, but they also renewed it for 10 episodes. And so my only concern now is that, when you take a show that's on the basis of this many episodes, and then you adjust it to more episodes. And this is the big thing, Matt, is that I'm concerned that they didn't also increase the budget, because they did that exact thing with Walking Dead after the first season. They increased the show to numerous more episodes.
Doubled it, though.
But they lowered the budget actually overall per episode. So the overall allotment of money per episode actually decreased based upon the showrunner. And
that's why we spent a lot of time in the farm. Yep.
Yes, exactly. That's why the whole thing took place on a farm. It was like really annoying to a lot of people. And so they worked it out eventually and they got better with it. But that's kind of my fear, is that they're going to do the same sort of thing here. It's like, give us more for less.
Gotcha.
So I'm excited to see it.
So, yeah, and as a whole, because I started off this series kind of feeling lukewarm about it. And then once we kicked in gear, there were spots, every now and then through the first 4 episodes, but I feel like 5th on, like I was all in. Once it hit that 5th episode, that was when it changed for me, and really, really digging it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for this episode, I go closer to a 9. I felt really satisfied in the way that ended, and I'm glad that we're getting out of David's head more so, and we're going to be doing some other things. Yeah. I guess we'll be checking out drones now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll figure out who that came from, where that came from. They might have talked about it in some of the extra stuff.
I didn't see it. I should go back and watch it. But what would you rate it?
For the episode, it's about 9.
Oh, cool.
It was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very effective. I loved the violence and the action at times. I thought the way that they handled Farouk and the whole transfer of body things was really clever and funny, and it made sense. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with it. And then as far as the season goes, I think it started off really strong for me. So like the first 2 episodes, I was like, the first episode in particular, I was like, yeah, nice. I like this a lot. And then it got really into the weird stuff. So it got kind of rocky. Yeah. I was still engaged with the story. I wanted to find out what was happening, but I was very concerned. We even talked about this before. Very concerned they weren't going to they were going to do like the Lost thing and just start presenting a bunch of stuff and like not answering it. Right. But I feel like they've done a really good job, an effective job of wrapping things up and tying elements together. And I like where it's headed. And so I would give the overall season probably like an 8.5 out of 10.
That's cool. Yeah. If I did the overall of the season, 8.5, I'd do the same thing.
Nice. Yeah. Really cool. So I would definitely suggest everybody, if you have any chance to check out that show, give it a look-see. I'm not sure where you'd be able to find it all, but it probably is streaming on, I don't know,
something.
Hulu, Amazon. I think probably those networks.
Something like that.
Have their own. Yeah. So cool. Well, then with that being covered, let's move on to our next show, which we're not going to talk too much about because we've talked a bit about, but we're going to talk about Iron Fist for just a bit because Matt, you had a chance to watch.
I finished it.
You finished it.
Yep.
It's all done. I got a chance to watch up until the last, I think 2 episodes are left.
Okay.
And I'm at this point where I'm kind of like, yeah, we can talk about it. I don't care. Spoil stuff. Doesn't really matter to me at this point. And so we just want to give like final thoughts on the show. So Matt, why don't you take that?
Final thoughts. Last week I had talked about how I was really liking it, and I wasn't, fully on board with why the critics were bashing it the way they were. It's at like a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really bad.
Really, really, really bad.
And I was not seeing that at all because I was really into it. And I think for me, I connected with the Danny character. I liked his like childish like innocence, and he'd throw fits every now and then, but for the most part he was like more compassionate, more empathetic, and more caring. But then I text you and I was like, I finished it, and I see what I liked about that first 6 or 7 episodes that I had seen.
Yeah.
That same like charm, innocence, and whatever that was in the second half became everything that I hated about that character. So he then became more just grumpy and like teen angst, like didn't know how to like manage his emotions and like kind of frustrating and annoying.
Yeah.
And I was really getting irritated with him by the end. I will say though, this I do really like Colleen Wing, I think is her name.
She's great.
Jessica Henwick.
Yeah.
She was really, really cool. In fact, one of the better episodes you might want to watch is the second to last episode.
Okay.
There's this fight scene between her and her old sensei.
I gotcha.
And that was actually pretty cool. Overall, I'm really bummed out that they don't ever use the Iron Fist.
A little bit.
I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, it's just a little bit, but like. Yeah. And okay, so he does the coolest thing with the Iron Fist at the tail end of the very last episode.
Okay.
He does a sweet thing where he like it glows and then he like does a spin move in the air.
Hadouken!
He punches the ground and like it's like a Hulk smash. Everything flies up in the air.
Okay.
It kind of looked like cool. That scene in Legion
where everything just
in the office flies up.
They're getting really good at that effect. I've seen that more and more. Like even in the X-Men movies, like with what's his name, Quicksilver.
Quicksilver, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're doing those, and I think the first film I saw that in was Inception. Mm-hmm. You know, as you're going like the different layers. And, I think that I love the effect.
It's just totally cool,
hoping
but
they don't just start overusing it.
I don't know if they ran out of just budget. They're like, we gotta not use this Iron Fist as much. He couldn't figure out how to use it.
They walked over to the Legion set and like, hey guys, can we borrow this for an hour?
Yeah, I know. But overall, I liked the first half. Episode 6 was pretty cool. They do that like thing where she's like, it's like a video game and he's got to go through and like beat the first boss and then beat the next boss.
Yeah, it's like what's that Bruce Lee movie? The one where he's going up the tower, Dragon something probably.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, it's not Into the Dragon. I forget which one it is.
Overall, I thought it was okay. I'm a little let down by it just because of the way it ended. It kind of, I guess, petered out at the end. It was just kind of like, but I still like the character. I just wish we could have seen more Iron Fist and he wasn't as whiny. He's just got to get his act together, and I hope they change that up and make him more lighthearted and kind and caring, compassionate, kind of like he was in the first half of the season. Yeah,
I felt so. Again, I haven't finished the series, but one of the elements I'm liking is they're finally adding some real like complex dramatic tension between some of the characters and like their past and who they've been and where they come from and where they're trying to go. Whereas the first couple episodes of the season were really just like, will Danny Rand be finally prove that he's actually Danny, you know?
Yeah.
And you could have accomplished everything in there in one episode and gotten much more quickly to a lot of this complex back and forth issues and drama with the Hand and all these other different characters that are trying to accomplish different things. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I started to like Ward towards the end, the last couple episodes especially.
Okay.
He's such a jerk too, like for the most part. And then towards the end, I'm like, I kind of see why you're a jerk a little bit.
Yeah, if they had started with things a lot more engaged in that story, maybe he was like already really close to being like he kind of was on the cusp, but you kind of had to push him.
Yeah,
like if he had offed his dad in that third episode,
right?
I'd been like, dang, this show's taking it there. But when you have to go that many episodes just for him to kill his dad, you're like, okay,
for real,
and not really kill him. Like he comes back, you knew he was going to come back.
Yep,
that's a thing. So I'll say that I really didn't like this is tough. There were certain times as well, and I read a bit about this because I was checking a lot of the fight scenes, and some of the fight scenes were effective and they worked, and then other ones felt very like staged,
vanilla.
And I actually found out that the main character Finn has actually come out now in interviews, talked about a lot of the choreography of the fighting, and he actually mentioned that a lot of times he would show up on set and he would have 15 minutes to prepare for fight scenes. And like he would have like 6 to 15 minutes to actually get into like the actual fight. Like they would show him the choreography and then he would practice it and then they would go. And that's like a really bad sign. That's like these should be treated with like, hey, this is like an art. It's like a dance, if you will. And yeah, some people are just really effective and great at, the fighting. But I think even for an expert to do something like that is really difficult. And I think there was at times where the fights definitely felt like lackluster, and that would have aided a ton. If I at least like, well, the story's kind of bad, but the fights are so cool and really awesome. I'm really enjoying that because that's kind of what I liked about some of the other shows that Marvel has done, like Luke Cage and Daredevil. Like Daredevil has a great story as well, but like the fights are amazing.
The action in Daredevil is by far the best.
Oh yeah, I'm like give it a bit more. I think that the as far as going to the whole like reason that all the reviewers are attacking it and tearing it down, I think some of it is valid criticisms, but the thing that they're coming up with all these different reasons for why the show stinks and da-da-da, and, lack of diversity, and the story should have delved in more into these elements and less into the hand, and da-da. I think the biggest thing that just made this show bad is just the storytelling. I think it really, if it had a solid storytelling element, the characters were strong enough that you could have accomplished a really good show with a stronger story, but it really was stretched out so long and so many unimportant things and just unnecessary drama and stuff to me that it's just felt stressed out. I got 2 episodes left.
Yeah,
so
I thought Danny could have been a lot stronger, like especially towards the end. I thought he started off strong and then he kind of like wimped out at the end. But
I'm not going to say he's miscast, but he definitely, as far as how he was directed in the role of Danny, fell kind of flat.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't really get a sense of engaging with him on any of the. It felt like as the show progressed, they're dealing more with him recovering from the loss of his parents, which now it's going into like Batman territory for me, which I don't really need. So I'm hoping that I'm guessing they'll renew it. They might do, because this is part of the Defenders,
Defenders, right? The Defenders come out next year.
Right.
Punisher comes out this year.
Right. So I'm thinking maybe that they were treating this more like, well, we just got to get him out to get the Defenders set up.
Like, hurry, just come on, little child. Let's get this thing going. Okay.
So maybe they didn't put as much emphasis and an effort into the project as they did with the first couple Marvels.
I will say he could be a pretty cool auxiliary, like side character, not like the main focal point. But anyway, if I had to rate this episode, the last, I guess it'd be weird. Let me just rate the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got to give it like a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a 6.5, somewhere in there. It's
6.8. Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at. So cool. So definitely check that out if you're interested. And now we're going to move on to another show to be the last show we talk about today. And this show is, as I mentioned, it has one more episode for the season before we wrap things up.
It doesn't actually.
Oh, it does not?
No, it's on the site. The next one doesn't air until the 25th, but the last episode actually airs at the end of May.
Oh, wow.
There's 23 episodes. So episode 19 comes out later this week.
Later this week, right.
Yeah, it's the way they have it set up on their site is kind of weird. But
okay, so wait, there's one episode left?
No.
We're done.
4.
There's 4 episodes left.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm way off basis on that one. I apologize. Yeah, but so we're talking about The Flash. I should probably
actually 5 episodes. 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, 25 episodes.
Wow.
Yep.
So they only have it listed up here. I'm checking out the Wikipedia. They've only got listed up to episode 19.
Yep. And then they say right below it, the finale, episode 23 is on May 23rd or something like that.
Ah.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, so we did watch another episode then. We can continue on and talk about
right.
Yay, more content. So we watched the episode entitled Abracadabra.
Yep.
And what were your thoughts on this episode? We've been having a lot of troubles with The Flash.
I felt like a lot of things, I liked it. We got some stuff that's kind of back to normal. We got some things that are... I guess definitely going to propel some of the story forward a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just kind of noteworthy things. I like the actor who played Abracadabra.
Yes, I thought
he plays a lot of creepy characters.
Does, yeah.
his first major role was the Dark Knight one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where
I didn't know that.
He stood in for the Joker and they caught him and he was like beating him up at the end.
Yeah. He was very effective.
Yeah. He was also in the Belko Experiment, which we saw a couple weeks ago.
Did not see that one.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So that, and then we had talked about this earlier, and this is one of the bigger things for me. I definitely agree. I think that we got our season 1 and season 2 Cisco back.
Yay!
He's no longer this like kind of awkward
My brother
Cisco.
died.
Yeah,
which is sad. But I mean,
it is sad.
Yeah.
I did get that. Only thing I thought was kind of silly was why didn't they partner with Gypsy and be like, hey, listen, this is what's up earlier on in the story. Hey, I know you're trying to get him. I know you're trying to do this. I know the sake was so they could flesh out this story about her partner and all this stuff. But I'm like, they're trying to go behind each other's back. They're like, hey, listen, we're on the same team. Can we do this? Can we trick them? Can we do this? And then maybe we could figure this out, as opposed to Joe breaking him out and then Gypsy getting all mad.
That felt like unnecessary drama. Like they needed to put that there in order to give some dramatic tension, but it felt like, why couldn't you trick him into thinking that he was getting out but actually not have him get out, I don't know. I mean, put a tracker on him. Like do something that it allows you to capture him after he gets out. I really didn't necessarily think Joe doing that was realistic either, because there's no guarantee that by releasing Kadabra, he was not going to do exactly.
I mean, he
what
said
did.
exactly that. He said, "I lied. I changed the terms of our agreement."
Exactly.
Whatever,
yeah. And so it felt very desperate, and it felt very silly when, for the most part, Joe has been very, seemingly throughout the rest of this season, has been very disconnected from the trying to prevent his daughter from dying at the hands of Savitar. Savitar. There you go. Salvatore. Yeah. So
Salivatar.
Yeah, but it felt very much like, well, now we need to do something with this Kadabra, so we're going to make Joe get all freaked out now about the fact that she's going to die, and I'm sure he hasn't been happy about it. But it would have made more sense almost in a way if Barry had done that than Joe to me. And so
Barry's been doing a lot of silly things lately. So
yeah, I actually, the one story element that I really did like was Caitlin. Yeah. I've never really thought Julian. I thought like Julian just got presented so he could hook up with Caitlin. That was like the whole reason they were together, which I feel like is not a great. It's like every guy that comes along that's kind of like the bad boy, like maybe he'll be a good guy, ends up with Caitlin. I feel really bad for her character. Yep. And then in this episode, she gets it probably the worst that I've seen any like the characters.
I did like that sequence, though. I did feel the tension when he was removing the shards.
I like that a lot.
I was like, wow.
For her.
I was like, ugh.
Yeah. I feel like she needs to win one I feel like Caitlin needs a break.
She needs a break. She needs a win.
Yeah.
But she's full on Ice Queen now.
She is.
She's like Elsa.
Yeah.
Like scorned Elsa.
Let it go, man.
Yeah.
Let it go.
You know what? She's letting go of Caitlin right now.
She's letting go of Caitlin, yeah. And I thought her overall progression with this episode was good. I liked her progression throughout the episode. I think, again, it still feels very silly to me that they're all freaking out about Iris and the whole she's gonna die and
They've already proven they can change the future.
Exactly. So it removes all the dramatic tension to me in that sense. And the thing about the story, I think maybe if I was more engaged with Barry and Iris being together, then I would still care more about it.
I'm on board with Barry. I'm not on board with Iris as much. I think you're on the same boat. But I mean, we got just as much too at the end of it. He's like, what's the one advantage that he has?
Yeah.
The future. So I'm going to the future.
Exactly. He's learning. He's finally figuring things out. Like, that. You could have done that months ago.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, but I did like Kadabra a lot. I liked that we've done this kind of like bad guy of the week type thing. Yeah. I was always pretty cool with that. I got a little old, but I was always pretty cool with that. I like that, Cisco was back. I'm trying to think of other elements of this episode that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Julian.
Didn't like Julian all that much. I thought it was cool the way they ended it with Kadabra, and I do like the idea of Barry being kind of juxtaposed with his older, more like burnt out, negative, almost like antagonistic type person and personality. And I thought that was really interesting how he was unwilling to give him the information that he wanted.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty deep and pretty dark. In a lot of ways that the show can sometimes do in a really good way. It can go in a dark area that you're just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool as well.
The action sequence at the end was actually pretty sweet too, where he does that jump from the building, phases through, grabs him, phases out the other side. I thought that was pretty sweet.
I thought that was pretty cool too,
As a whole, I like this episode. I like where it's headed better.
And HR.
Yeah, HR shows up randomly. We were talking about that. We don't know, like maybe he was filming something else. That's why he wasn't there. He was like, I was just out and about doing whatever,
Maybe he was on one of the other shows.
Maybe he's in The Walking Dead.
He could be on The Walking Dead. He's like, hey guys,
coffee, where's my coffee? I need my espresso. Where's my coffee?
I mean, he could have been filling in on like Arrow or something like that, or Supergirl or something.
We don't know, or Legends.
Yeah, Legends or something.
We'll see. But as a whole, I liked it. For the most part, this season for the most part in the middle has been very sluggish. I didn't like where it started out. I didn't like all the negativity that Flashpoint created, and it's kind of weird in the middle. I like if we can keep going this direction, maybe it'd be pretty cool. But
I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna say, fingers crossed, Iris kicks a bucket. There you go.
Oh gosh,
just kidding.
Oh gosh.
I want to see. I think the thing is I'm liking the dark kind of path that they're pushing Barry down. Personally, I'm liking that because he's always been so like goody optimistic, and he does like one kind of bad thing and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're such a horrible person. And so like I want him to go full tilt like bad Barry, in a way.
Bad Barry.
Yeah, but I don't want to last too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm still Team Patty, so if they can bring her back somehow, that would be good.
Team Patty would be great.
But
that would be a twist.
That would be a twist. But other than that, I liked it. I'm going to give it a 7.5. Wasn't super awesome, but I did enjoy it.
Cool. I give it like a 7 out of 10. I think that's where I'm ending. So
cool.
Awesome. So that is going to wrap things up then here for our Tube Talk episode. And again, want to remind you of all the cool places you can get connected to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us at Real Review Media. You can also check out our website, get signed up for our newsletter and whatnot at realreviewmedia.com. And then again, if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, good things to say, bad things to say, none of that, hopefully.
Right.
You can check us out at you can email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com. So that is all for us. Matt, anything further?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, it's been real.
It's been real.